If you have a true scary story you want to share with the channel, send it my way by emailing me at astheravendreams@gmail.com. Do not use the website, it's currently borked. And thank you. Hi, Raven. I have a story that may be a glitch, or something else. I'm not sure. I feel this is more of a time warp experience. This happened circa 2020. I wish I had written down the exact date. I am a female and I was close to 50 years old when this happened. A friend and I, I'll call him Jay, went out to visit his father in a town about 1.5 hours away from the city where we lived. Jay drove us there in his car. His father's house was out in the higher desert areas of California. I've never been there before. This was my first time in that exact area. It was a nice and normal day. The visit was fairly uneventful. There was no drinking or drugs involved, as we don't do either. We also have no history of mental illness. After a few hours, we decided to head home. We got into the car, and I, as the passenger, just let Jay pay attention to the directions, since he had been to his father's house many times. I basically didn't pay attention to the turns and trusted that he would get us home safely. I basically remembered the drive there. It was a typical California freeway drive, and it was about midday. If you've ever driven the freeways in Southern California, you'll know that most freeways in the city are quite crowded, well lit, and lined with many, many buildings and businesses. There is definitely plenty to look at while driving. I recall there being several, meaning hundreds if not thousands, of buildings on both sides of the freeway driving up there the entire time. This was normal to me, so I didn't think much of it. Although we would have ample conversation while he was driving, I would spend a lot of the time just looking out the window at the buildings to give my eyes something to do. On the way back, Jay planned to take the same exact route home, just in the opposite direction. After a short drive from his father's house on regular neighborhood roads, we were once again on the freeway heading back home. It was still daylight, maybe around 6 p.m. in the summertime. This is important because the sun wasn't scheduled to go down for maybe a couple of hours, near 8 p.m. And I remember the sun being higher than the mountains at that time. I could tell it wouldn't be setting anytime soon based upon its position. It wasn't even close to sunset, in other words. We got on the freeway about 10 minutes after leaving his dad's house. I didn't pay attention to any on-ramp signs, as, like I said, I trusted he knew this drive well. Then this is where things started to get weird. No glitch yet, but I started noticing something. I know for a fact that the drive to his dad's house was quite populated and packed with buildings. No breaks with no open land. No empty acres, no desert landscapes. A crowded city, if you will. Yet, after driving about 20 minutes on the freeway, and not 2 minutes nor 5 minutes, but after about 20 minutes, between the conversation, I come to the awareness that we have been on the freeway with practically no buildings around us the entire time since entering the freeway. It looked similar to the drive between California and Las Vegas, if you ever made that drive. Just mostly desert land, mountains, cactus, and practically nothing else. We should have, by now, been in the middle of a city. Yet I noticed no buildings, lots of desert, and hardly any cars. Maybe a couple of cars in the distance, which was odd at that time of day. Note, at around 6 p.m. on California freeways, there should have been plenty of cars, like tons of cars. I thought to myself, this is weird. This can't be right. We should be in a city right now. Just as I was thinking that, Jane noticed it too and said something to the effect of, I think I accidentally got on the wrong on-ramp. I think we're going the wrong way. I told him, yeah, I thought so too. And no big deal. We'll just get off the freeway, make a U-turn, and get back on the other way and head home. We weren't in a rush or anything. Now, the next exit wasn't close. It was several minutes away. So by this point, we've been driving almost 30 minutes out of our way the opposite direction from home. Again, not a big deal. I'm feeling a bit better about the lack of buildings, the long stretch of desert land, and hardly any cars on both sides of the freeway. Not knowing this area, I thought that this must just be the way it is out here heading out of town. It's still very light outside and the sun is still out, and it's not near sunset. This is important. We finally get to the next off-ramp, make a U-turn, and then get back on the same freeway heading the other way, back towards home. Now this is where it gets super weird, and where the time glitch happens. As we're getting back on the freeway, again, no cars near us, and logistically we should be driving through an empty desert scene for at least 30 minutes, back the other way we just came. But no. Suddenly, and I mean suddenly, just as we got back on to that same freeway, it's now nighttime. I mean dark nighttime. We're surrounded by businesses and buildings suddenly. All the lights are glowing from all the buildings and traffic lights, and the freeway is packed with cars surrounding us. I sit there stunned, frozen and silent, trying to figure out what the hell just happened. My brain was baffled. How could it have gone from daytime, hardly any cars, practically no buildings, and surrounded by desert, to, within a second, a completely different landscape and scene? Like the one that we should have been in had he not made the wrong turn. As I was sitting there stunned, I also noticed Jay was dead silent too, which was abnormal for him, as he is quite the talker. Practically simultaneously, we both exclaim, "Did you notice that? And what's going on? How are we suddenly someplace else? We should have been repeating that same desolate desert scene for at least 30 minutes while we backtracked through the terrain which we had just driven through. How did it go from daylight to nighttime within a second or two? Where did all these buildings suddenly come from? It was as if we suddenly jumped through time into the future." I then think to look at the clock. I didn't know the exact time it was when we originally got onto the freeway, but if I had to guess, I would say maybe around 6-ish p.m., which is congruent with where the sun was. This means it should have been around 6:30 p.m. by now, and still should have been daylight, had things gone normally. But guess what? The clock said 7:49 p.m. So basically we missed or skipped about an hour and 20 minutes of time. It just poof, gone from our awareness. It was seamless. No fanfare, no strange sounds or strange jolts, nor a sense of nausea like others will describe. Just a sudden realization that it was over an hour later, within the blink of an eye. Jay and I were freaked out. We were yelling and baffled and nervously laughing about what had just transpired. Like, whoa, can you believe that just happened? How is this possible? Did we just travel through time? Was this a simulation glitch? Yes, we had already heard about glitches, simulation theory, and alien abduction at this point. And we weren't hurt. It was just super weird. I mentioned this story to others, and some say it was an alien abduction, but that just doesn't feel right to me. It feels more like a time warp experience, as if we were supposed to be driving 30 minutes out of our way for some reason, and the universe decided to just put us back on track, into the timeline that we should have been on. We made it home safely. We went on with our normal lives, but I will never forget this moment, and I'll always wonder how that happened. I will say in conclusion that it does make me feel a lot better hearing other people have freaky experiences like this too. We're not alone in this crazy, amazing world. Thank you for sharing all of these stories here for us. I really appreciate it. One of the only glitches I've experienced in my Matrix still haunts me today. It was a late, around midnight, spring night in Minnesota. Usually smaller towns die down around this time, but I was living in a more populated city. I was at a gas station that was 24 hours. My husband went inside and I was waiting in the car for him. Out of the corner of my eye, I see this super cute elderly couple. The man was wearing red shorts and a yellow t-shirt, and cleaning off their windshield with the gas station squeegee, starting with the passenger side. Then the woman opened the passenger door, got out, kissed him, and proceeded to go inside. Okay, sounds normal at first. I see him go around to the driver's side and clean that side, and then place the squeegee back and sit in the driver's seat. She comes out, goes back into the car, and sits. He then gets out, grabs the squeegee, and proceeds to clean the passenger side window. While he's cleaning it, she gets out, kisses him, and goes back inside. Okay, a second time starts alarming me, as there is no one else at the gas station during this time. She's inside for maybe a minute, and while she's inside, he cleans the passenger side, then the driver's side, puts back the squeegee, and gets inside the car. She comes out, sits in the passenger seat. He then gets out again and starts cleaning the windshield. It happens in the exact order every time. This proceeded to happen 12 times within 15 minutes. She's only ever inside for 1 minute, if that long. After the 5th time, my heart starts racing. My husband isn't answering my texts, and I debated about starting to film it. Around 12:20 a.m., my husband comes back out to the car and sees me in a state of confusion. I proceeded to tell him what happened, and he looks over at their car. At this time, the woman was getting out of the car again, and the man was getting out to clean the windshield. My husband then says, "That woman was never inside." Chills went down my back. There's only one entrance, and the gas station was small, so he would have seen her inside. He said that he never even saw her at the door. I was panicking and confirmed, "Well, do you see them now?" And he did see them, so I knew that I wasn't entirely hallucinating. This is forever a creepy moment in my life. It was like watching a GIF. They moved in the same way each time, and it freaked me out. I never went back to that gas station, even during the day. Hello, Raven. These are 2 short stories about how I've been able to see 2 separate times when my ex-husband was in trouble before they happened. The first one, he worked at a couple pizza places as a manager. I had never been to the store he was in. This specific store had a broken lock on the door where the drivers would go out and come in for deliveries. This was around Christmas time, so they were very busy, and he had not had a chance to get the lock fixed. I did not know any of this, and he was my ex at this time. I had a dream that someone had come into the door with a broken lock and went straight to the manager's office and beat my ex pretty bad to get to the cash. I told my ex about this, and he asked me to describe the store layout, and I was able to tell him the exact layout of the store with the broken lock. Remember that I've never been to or seen this store. It was in a totally different state than where I lived. He got that lock fixed right away. The second one, this one's really short. I had a dream that my ex-husband's car had a blowout from a tire on his car, and the car flipped. He then took his car to get his tires checked, and the one tire had a bubble that could have blown at any moment. I don't know why I had these dreams, but I guess that I kind of saved his life. It had been one of those weeks. My husband was away on business, and our dog was very unwell. After days of refusing to eat, I had him admitted to a vet hospital, where they decided an ultrasound was necessary to get to the bottom of his symptoms. The earliest appointment was 2 days later on Thursday. The night before the scheduled ultrasound, I ran through my morning plan. I need to get his lead, muzzle, and harness. I need to have him at the vet by 7:40 a.m. This should give me time to check him in and still make it to work by 8:15. It'll be tight, but I can do it. Then I remembered that Thursday was also bin day. Normally my husband handled the bins, but with him away, it was up to me. The last thing I needed after the week I was having was rubbish overflowing down the side of our house. I was about to get ready for bed when I thought, I should take the bins out now before I change into pajamas. You know how those nagging feelings go. The realization that a million things could happen between now and the morning. So I threw on a dressing gown and slippers, went outside into the damp, drizzling rain, and wheeled the bins from the backyard to the end of our driveway. The next morning I woke up, showered, dressed, got the dog to the vet, and even managed to get to work on time. I congratulated myself for being proactive enough to take the bins out the night before, despite the dark, cold, and damp. It was one less thing to worry about on Thursday morning. A good decision. That evening, when I went to collect our beloved Pooch after his ultrasound, the vet gave us some unexpected news. I was in shock when I arrived home with the dog, and I didn't even think to bring in the bin. I honestly don't even recall seeing it. The next morning, I left for work as usual. In the afternoon, when I returned home, the bin was still on the verge. Oddly, I didn't remember seeing it before I left, but there it was, sticking out like a sore thumb. It was the only bin left sitting on the verge in our small 9-home cul-de-sac. Feeling a bit guilty, I wondered if my neighbors were gossiping about my laziness for not bringing it in on collection day. I quickly walked down the driveway to collect it, expecting to grab a lightweight, empty bin. Instead, it still weighed a lot. It was full. It hadn't been emptied. A pang of annoyance hit me. After all of my efforts to get it out early, how did the rubbish collectors miss it? I dragged it back behind our gate, causing the thought of struggling for a week to find space for our household rubbish. Determined to get to the bottom of it, I resolved to check our security footage. Here's where things started to get weird. Comfortably seated on the couch, I pulled up our 8-camera motion security system on my mobile phone and loaded the footage from Thursday, the day the bin should have been collected. To my absolute confusion, there was no bin at the end of our driveway. In all of the recorded Thursday footage, our driveway was empty. I stared at my phone for a long time, searching and researching, double-checking and triple-checking the date. Nothing. No bin. I checked all 3 cameras that record the end of the driveway, and there was no bin there. So I went back to Wednesday. I clearly remember taking the bin out at 8:23 p.m. It was the day before the dog went to the vet. Before we found out he had a life-changing illness. But according to our security system, there was no footage at all between 8 p.m. and the early hours of Thursday morning. I passed 3 security cameras on the way from where our bins are stored to where they're set out for collection. Yet there wasn't a single frame of footage showing my late evening, dressing gown-clad, slipper-wearing self delivering that bin to the verge. Completely perplexed, I fast-forwarded through the footage from Wednesday afternoon through all of Thursday. There was footage of me and my 2 boys arriving home from work on Wednesday afternoon. There was footage of me and the dog leaving the house on Thursday morning, as well as us arriving home after his day at the vet. There was footage of my 2 adult children leaving for and arriving from work, of the postman delivering mail, and of random cars and vans passing our house. But the bins? It didn't exist. It didn't exist until just after midnight on Friday morning. Our cameras are motion censored, and while it seems they captured everything except my trip to the Verge on Wednesday, they did trigger just once on Thursday night/Friday morning. Just after midnight on Friday, something triggered all 3 cameras facing the end of our driveway. However, all they managed to film was a lonely-looking wheelie bin, the only one left in the street, sitting on the verge at the end of our driveway. I've racked my brain, Raven. I've gone over these events again and again. Could I have mistaken Thursday night for Wednesday? Did I take the bin out a day later than I thought? I suppose it's not impossible, but it's hard to believe I could have mixed up the night before my dog's procedure with the night after, especially when my thought process is so clear in my head. I have to take the bin out tonight because I don't want to be late for the vets tomorrow. It seems a silly thought process to have if I had returned home from the vet just hours before. And then there's the fact that no footage of me wheeling the bin out exists. Not on Wednesday, nor on Thursday, despite the fact that the trip requires me to pass not 1, not 2, but 3 motion sensor cameras. No, there's only one logical explanation, if logic can even be applied to the situation. It was a glitch in the Matrix. I may have taken the bin out at 8:23 p.m. on Wednesday, but the bin actually didn't arrive on the Verge until 12:06 a.m. on Friday, August 2nd. Hi, Raven. I've just recently started following your YouTube channel, and I have a doozy of a story. So I don't know if this qualifies as a glitch or something else. I've been thinking about it for a while now. I'll try to keep it as brief as I can, but it's a story that dates back to my birth. Before I go on, I don't take any mind-altering drugs regularly, and I rarely drink. I was born in a hospital in a town on the Arkansas side of the Mississippi River. I won't reveal the names because, well, I don't like to spread too much information on the internet. I was born in April, and I was the first boy born at the hospital in the year I was born. Here's where I think the glitch might have happened. According to my birth certificate, my mother is not my mother. Without revealing anything, her maiden name has 6 letters. The name on my birth certificate has the same first 2 letters and last 2 letters. The 2 in the middle are different. Now, that wouldn't be too weird, but I've begun wondering if the me that was born to be in this world would have died at birth. I wonder if I was moved here as a replacement. I was born a week before the expected due date. If that was it, I could just chalk it up to a random mistake. When my parents moved to the home that my mother, my sister, and I share now, some weird things happened. I would visit periodically, and I started hearing odd sounds. Late at night, I swear I can hear people walking in the kitchen. I usually get up to check on it, but no one's there. Add to that, swearing I hear someone walking on the roof. I know it could be a squirrel or other animal, but this sounds like someone wearing work boots. Then there are the voices. I've heard someone clearly say a name when I get out of the shower. I was alone at the house. It might have been someone outside, except it was in a normal tone of voice. If it was someone from outside, they would have to yell for me to hear them. The other most notable one was last year, before my father passed away. I was in my bed and clearly heard a woman's voice say, "Mon Dieu." I didn't have my TV on that night. I often need sound to help me sleep. It was not my mother's nor my sister's voice. Even if it was, they don't speak French. The only foreign language either of them speak is Spanish. My mother taught Spanish for a number of years. The drawback is that, as an exchange student from Colombia told her when I was still in high school, she speaks it with an Arkansas accent. I only knew the word because I had just been in a stage production of Murder on the Orient Express, and that is my favorite exclamation of Poirot. Now, one other incident with the voice tells me that I'm not just hearing voices in my head. When I was in college, I was a non-traditional student who had gone back to college after a long break. I was renting a room from a couple, let's call him J and her K, and I was in the hallway on the way to the bathroom, when I heard a woman's voice say my name. It was not either of the people that I rented from. On my way back to my room, Kay opened her door and asked me if I had someone visiting because she had heard the same voice I had just heard. I've since told friends who express interest in going on ghost hunts to take me with them if they want to hear something. I also wonder if these voices and sounds I hear are echoes of other dimensions, and I wonder if my whole life has been one big glitch. Hi, Raven. I want to start by saying that I love listening to your narrations. I find your voice soothing and often fall asleep listening to your videos, and find myself rewatching them the next day to hear the part I missed. Thank you. That being said, my story takes place approximately 20 years ago. I was a young mother and my son was 2 or 3 at the time. Him and I had laid down for an afternoon nap. I was cuddling with him, big spoon, little spoon, as he always tended to sleep better whenever we cuddled. Shortly after we lay down, he dozed off, and I quickly followed. I had a dream about him and I being in a candy store. It was a small mom-and-pop type store, and my son picked Hot Lips as his treats. Not sure if everyone knows what Hot Lips candy is, but it's a cinnamon-flavored gummy candy in the shape of lips, and it's about 1.5 inches long. Although, in my dream, the candy was approximately the size of a candy bar. There was another little boy in the store as well, and he snatched the candy from my son and climbed up on a shelf and sat there eating the candy. At that point, I woke up. I don't know how long we slept for sure, an hour or 2 at the most. He woke up first, and I quickly woke up when I felt him moving. And what he said to me when he woke up, I will never forget. He said, "Mama, that boy took my candy bar." I've never been able to explain how this happened, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I often wonder if he saw my dream or if I saw his. Whichever way it happened, I'll never know, but it has definitely stuck with me over the years. Back in February, I got really sick. My brother took me to see my doctor, then to the grocery store to get some food. He handed me my phone and the bag with the food. I then headed into my house. I put the food in the fridge and went to bed, and then about 1 week to 2 weeks when I was starting to feel good, I realized I couldn't find my phone. We both searched his car. In my house, I searched the 3 places that I would have been in, which were the living room, the kitchen, and my bedroom, and no phone. A friend came over and did some cleaning and searched for my phone. For the past 6 months, I have looked for my phone and it is not in my house. Well, 4 days ago, I found out why it was not in my house. My brother was looking in his car for something when he looked under the front passenger seat and he found my phone. We had both looked there and didn't see it. When I looked, it was daytime and bright out. I could clearly see under the seat. I had to buy a $200 phone to temporarily replace it. I don't know what happened, but I do know that I am so glad to have my phone back, as it's a Galaxy S23 Ultra. So that, my friends, was this week's Glitch in the Matrix collection, in spite of me saying there wouldn't be a Glitch in the Matrix collection this week due to the website issue and me taking some time off. Well, as you noticed, this video went up on Wednesday. Probably earlier for those of you who are members or patrons, but Wednesday for the public. I decided to go ahead and record these stories, get them out there, and as much as I don't like having a glitch video on Wednesday, I wanted to at least get the glitch video out there. There's a reason for it. I don't like being behind on glitch stories, so yeah. Hopefully, you all enjoyed these stories. It's been a bit of a week, sorry. If you did, please do hit that like button. That'd be tremendous of you. If you're new to the channel and liked what you heard and want more content like this, consider subscribing. That'd be awesome of you. You can also join Patreon or membership to get early access to content like this. You can also check out the merch store down in the description below. Should be listed. You can send me stories by emailing them currently to astheravendreams@gmail.com. Do not go to the website. It's currently borked as of Monday at least. While these were being recorded, it was still borked. Looking online, I saw it can take a couple days to get that fixed. I also saw it can take weeks. So we'll see how it goes. Probably low priority because it's not a very popular website. So, yeah. Super thanks to the channel with just a tip. Never expected, always appreciated. You can also listen on Spotify or Amazon Music or Audible or Apple, whichever. Wherever you want to listen. All over the place. Just go to your platform you want to listen on and search As the Raven Dreams. You'll probably find me. What's fun is as I was recording this, just received a new submission, new story, which means somebody is ignoring Google's big red warning saying that my site is a malicious entity. So to whoever that is that ignored that, thank you, I appreciate you, because my website's not malicious, damn it. Anyways, we're not going to do a word of the week this week just because I don't have one planned. It's Wednesday, it's not enough time in my opinion. I only do word of the week if it's on Monday or Tuesday. It being this going up on Wednesday, I don't feel like it'd be fair, so. You have another week to post your word of the week sentences to last week's word of the week on the glitch video, if you want to. Don't have to. This time, if you want to help the algorithm bots promote my video, just tell me if you have any plans for the rest of the week. What the weather is like where you are. Currently, it's rainy and kind of chilly, which is beautiful autumn weather here in Kansas. I made a comment about that to patients earlier, that it was wet, it was raining, and there were leaves, brown leaves, stuck to the concrete. Which means it's autumn. Do you love autumn? Because I do. I love autumn so very much. It's my favorite. Yeah. Well, that said, friends, hope you're having a beautiful week. Hope I do see you again here very soon. But until then, remember that you are loved, you are valid, you are important. You are the best you that you can be. Do not forget it, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And until next time, my friends, much love, and sleep well.